Good morning, Bryte Church, and welcome to another devotional. I wanted to read again 3 passages from Matthew chapter 5, chapter 23, and Isaiah 5. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you clean the outside of the cup and of the dish, but inside they are full of robbery and self-indulgence. And Isaiah 5:12. They have lyre and harp, tambourine and flute, and wine at their feasts, but they do not regard the deeds of the Lord or see the work of his hands. What is the balance? What is the proper weight between internal blindness and external holiness? How are those two related? In the Beatitudes, a pure heart within a person will actually manifest God externally. A pure heart will see God. It will make God a living being that we can witness. In the Beatitudes, holiness externally leads to uncleanliness and blindness internally. And in Isaiah, seeing good all around them, the people are blind to the deeds of the Lord, to the works of his hands. Internal blindness and external holiness are intertwined in a relationship that oftentimes forces one to be superior or more manifest than the other. If you've ever driven in a car, you most certainly, or at least I hope most certainly, realize that you have blind spots when you're driving. And you don't really believe that until you're driving down the freeway at 70 miles an hour and merge over into what looks like an open lane, only to have a semi-truck with its thunderous horn warn you that you are overstepping your bounds. You are going into a blind spot where you don't see a massive multi-ton vehicle. And yet if a person continues to do it repeatedly, and with you in the car, you will come to the conclusion that driver's licenses aren't that difficult to get, and unfortunately should be a little bit more difficult, especially in the case of this person who keeps merging into a lane with cars in it. And it's funny in a physical sense, it's funny in our real world, but in the spiritual world, the same thing happens. In all 3 verses, there's this same call to avoid blindness. It is ignorant blindness. It's blindness that you're not aware of. If you've never driven in a car, you're not going to realize that there is a blind spot. And Jesus, when he's preaching, he makes these references back to Isaiah. He's been referencing the same chapter as he's been preaching through the Beatitudes and as he's been preaching through the Beatitudes. And we can't help but notice that he's drawing this comparison that people see the good around them. They see the good in the gifts that God even gives, but they become blind to why and what is the meaning of all of that. In noticing the good, we fail to see the metaphorical or even real, as Jesus puts it, robbery and self-indulgence that exists within us. Robbery and self-indulgence exist within us because we're blind to what the good around us does to us. And to make matters worse, we know we don't want to look there. We know we don't want to look there. In the Beatitudes, a pure heart will lead us to see and stand before a holy God. In the Beatitudes and Isaiah, blindness to the state of our soul may even look like holiness to those who are watching us from the outside, but internally we might be far from God. So as a command, we're instructed to look where we don't want to look, to examine what we don't want to examine, to assess what are our motivations. What are you avoiding coming to terms with? We have so much good. Is it a pursuit of a car with the anticipation that somehow that will bring joy and fullness of heart in exchange for the joy and fullness of God that we are commanded to have? Is it the overindulgence in leisure, gaming, or trying to be an influencer, doing something because the emptiness in our heart exists and we have hope that through those things we will fill them? Or maybe it's even doing ministry that you wholeheartedly loathe. You're tired of it. You're tired of the people in it. You can't stand going in and putting on a face like you enjoy it. But you know that if you quit, people will look down on you, and that's far worse. And so you continue to trudge on. Where is your blindness taking away from a pure heart? Where is your heart in relationship to God? And when such a heart exists, the path to God is closed. So I call you to examine that blindness, to look in the places you don't want to look, to see the things that you don't want to see, and come before God, laying it all out before Him and saying, this is who I am. Change me, Lord, for I am not worthy of you. And by His grace, He will do that. And He will take care of you as a father takes care of a child. God bless and take care.